subcontractor for NICEAG, and they are, I guess, performing some aerial inspections and NICEAG lines, and they asked if they could use the gravel pit as a landing pad for the helicopter. That will do those inspections, but it needs to be done by tomorrow. One of the issues was whether or not the gravel pit has been cleared, sufficiently cleared of all the flood debris, that would allow for safe landing. We don't know the answer to that, and Mark isn't here tonight. So if it were to be allowed on such short notice, we'd still need the certificate of insurance and hold harmless.
I would make the recommendation that if cooperation work with NICEAG, if Mark is agreeable that it's cleaned out enough that they can land there, there's open space, and they can provide the proper insurances that we allow them to use it.
It's my understanding that was for today and tomorrow.
Possibly today. I don't know what they did. They could have found, they may have found an alternate spot by now, but in the event they didn't.
Are you okay with that? Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Carried. Anything else, Amy?
That's all I have.
Mike?
Yes, I received one of the letters I thought maybe you could address tonight came from Mr. Carl Timon. Is he here tonight?
No.
No? I'd just like to read the last paragraph and then enter it in the record and put it in the tracking file, if that's all right?
Yep.
I believe you wrote a letter to the editor of the Penny Saver, and he just says, the many harmful effects are well known and have been demonstrated in Pennsylvania. We do not know what decision our DEC will make, but the town of Owego now has the opportunity to safeguard our sole source aquifer on which we all depend. The town can do this by enacting a ban on hydraulic fracturing. The town can do this now, but if we wait, it might be too late. Sincerely, Carl Timon, Owego, New York. And no report.
My report is on file with the supervisor, my monthly report, and I'd like to add any additional personnel matters to the executive session. Having said that, it's privilege of the floor. Those who want to speak, we ask you to give your name, your address, and you need to be a town of Owego resident. We ask you to try to limit your comments to 2 minutes, if possible. We have to, a lot of people here, I'm sure, don't have something to say, and we want to keep it as moving forward as quick as possible. Also, direct your comments to the town board. We don't want to have back and forth, and I just ask everyone to be respectful as we've been through the last month and a half or so, and which we all appreciate. So.
We have something different than Friday.
Yeah,
Then I'll let you all run with it. Thanks. My name is Chris Ryber. Hello, Mr. Castellucci and board. I live at 6555 State Route 17C. I thank you very much for agreeing to look over the letters. I want to make sure that the board is aware that Jackson's Motocross has no permit to operate right now as a business. It is running full tilt. If anything, worse than it ever has before. More people there than I've ever seen, and they are there regularly. They are disturbing neighbors tremendously. People surrounding them on all sides are having serious problems with this. So we ask the board to please figure out what you're going to do about it and take some kind of action, because he's running a business down there without a permit again, and all of the problems that we've had before are back in force.
Is it
Thank you.
7 days a week is this happening, or is it?
He's running full force on Wednesdays and Saturdays, and sometimes on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays as well.
This is still litigation. Can we move that to executive and get back with it?
No, yeah, we're ready to move it to.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got it. We're good.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you
you very much.
Would it be okay if we move up the presentation to the privilege of the floor?
Sure, we can do that.
Is that all right?
If that's right with the board, we can move up the G4. Are we okay? Sure, got it.
Supervisor Castellucci, board members, Attorney Graven, and Clerk Zimmer. Tonight, I'm pleased to present you Owego Raft's second 1,000 signatures to prohibit hydraulic fracturing in the town. 69% of the 2,900 residents canvassed want to see hydraulic fracturing prohibited, at least at this point in time, while the technology is inadequately developed and the well pad setback guidelines are too close to our aquifers. Petitioning the public door to door is a fascinating experience. Once we get past dogs of all types, you probably know almost everyone has at least one dog. And that's how we actually test doorbells, because if we don't hear the doorbell, we hear the dog. As we petition, we learn people's wishes, their hopes, and their stories. Many have stories about family and friends in Pennsylvania and other states where their well water is contaminated or their children or animals are sick. We don't hear those stories in the general media because of gag orders, non-disclosure agreements that industry forces victims of contamination to sign in order to receive some type of industry resolution. All of the petition signers agree at least to a time-limited moratorium. Many want a permanent ban. Additional stats for this second 1,000 signatures are as follows. As I said previously, 69% want to see fracking prohibited. 11% want more information. 20% did not sign because they had no opinion, worked for the government, or were in favor of fracking. 56% are female, 44% are male. In terms of party affiliation, 35% are registered Republican and 29% are registered Democrat. The remaining 36% are registered with another party, have no affiliation, or are not registered. The residents of Owego have spoken with their signatures. They want the protection offered by their town board in its comprehensive plan for health, safety, and welfare. To date, 114 New York State towns have enacted protective bans or moratoria, and 74 others are in the process of doing so. We trust that you will do the right thing and protect the residents of Owego with a ban or a moratorium. Thank you. It goes in the spiral down.
We have them. Yeah, I got it. Thank you. Thank you. Are those the originals or a copy here?
Those are copies.
My name is Cecile Lawrence, and I live at 14 Alpine Drive in Appalachian. As a little background to who I am and why I'm involved in this is I moved here 22 years ago for a job at Binghamton University. And also, about 2 years after moving here, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor for which I received radiation in Pittsburgh, and from which I have continuing chronic neurological issues, including deafness in my left ear and sensitivity to hearing. So the thought of an increase in vibrations, sound, noise is just horrific to me. So I have two things I just want to speak brief to focus on. A little background also why I'm interested is I have a PhD from Binghamton University and a law degree from University of Buffalo Law School. So I'm addressing all of the town board members here, and it's particularly to Attorney Graven and to Supervisor Castellucci on this. This came out today, and you may or may not know that the Middlefield case for which the plaintiff's attorney had set out a motion to renew the case on the basis of there being new facts. Plaintiff seeks relief pursuant to CPLR 221E, asserting that 2221E, asserting that newly discovered facts not offered in support of Cooperstown Holstein Corporation's prior motion for summary judgment, as well as Cooperstown Holstein Corporation's reasonable justification for not previously presented them, and so on and so on. And the judge held today that upon review of the submissions of plaintiff, such do not serve to support a basis upon which this court may change its prior determination that local municipalities are vested with the authority to either permit or prohibit oil, gas, and solution mining or drilling within their geographical jurisdiction. And I have a copy here before I go on to my next statement. And if you want, I can email you all a copy if you wish. My second order of business here is that I did some calculations, and according to information from Tiger Lease itself, 18146 acres in the town of Owego are leased. Total land, excluding water, of the town of Owego is 104.2 square miles, which equals 66,688 acres. 18146 is 27.2102% of 66,688. Should people who are residing on 27% of the land, that is the leaseholders, determine the lives of the rest of us? I don't agree with that. As of the 2000 census, there were 20,365 people, 7,733 households, and 5,761 families residing in the town. Using the census grouping of families, again, should 8.67% of the families in Owego County determine the lives of the rest of us? I think not, and I wanted to bring this to the attention of the people, that how small the amount of families that are trying to put across a particular desire on their part to go forward with something that the rest of us, so far we heard from Jerry, that an increasing number of people, once they get the information, they are totally against this. I think that for this situation to hold, it's unconstitutional and it's undemocratic for such a small amount of people owning such a small amount of land should prevail over the rest of us. Thank you.
Would you email me your comments and the information, please?
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. Good evening, Supervisor Castellucci, the board, Attorney Braden, and Clerk Zimmer. My name is Meredith Bosek. I live on 75 Glen Road in Appalachian. I thank you for the opportunity to participate in democracy. And I thank you for all you do in the best interest of Owego. This is a request for moratorium on hydraulic fracturing by residents of the town of Owego, Owego County, New York, June 19, 2012. Whereas the town of Owego created a comprehensive plan in 1997 to protect the health, safety, and welfare of its residents. And whereas in 2005, Owego County approved the Tioga 2010 document, whose primary goals include to protect public drinking water supply, protect aquifer and groundwater from contamination, preserve surface and subsurface water quality, preserve clean and adequate drinking water, and protect public wells from drinking supply. And whereas the town of Owego has a responsibility to protect all its citizens and the community. And whereas New York State revised draft supplemental generic environmental impact statement and regulations under the Department of Environmental Conservation, DEC, do not address the cumulative impact of horizontal hydraulic fracturing in New York State upon our health and welfare. And whereas a moratorium will enable the town of Owego, still recovering from catastrophic 2011 flooding, to identify ways to avoid further damage to our water supplies and infrastructure that would harm the health and well-being of residents and businesses. And whereas a moratorium will provide the town of Owego the opportunity to assess the final DEC regulations and determine their impact on the town of Owego. And whereas a moratorium will provide the town of Owego the opportunity to assess the impact of the final DEC regulations on property values. As an aside, the DEC has said that property values will decline 20%. Whereas a moratorium will provide the town of Owego time to determine how well pad setbacks will affect our residents in terms of water quality, air quality, noise, and other considerations, and to work with the state to determine areas of the town that should be off limits to drilling. And whereas a moratorium provides the town of Owego time to determine road use plans for the transport of hazardous material, particularly flowback, frac fluid, produced water, which contain radioactive isotopes, volatile organic compounds, heavy metals, highly concentrated salts, and toxic chemicals. And whereas a moratorium is needed to create ordinances, and to determine the appropriate number of additional enforcement officers and emergency response personnel to address noise, lighting, accidents, traffic, truck and driver violations. And whereas New York State is a home rule state, and towns have the right and the responsibility to decide if and where gas drilling occurs. And whereas 69% of the 2,906 voters canvassed in 22 election districts in the town of Owego have signed a petition to prohibit industrial activities involving horizontal hydraulic fracturing for natural gas. And whereas threats of a lawsuit are an attempt by industry and pro-drilling interests to intimidate towns into not acting. And whereas failing to enact a moratorium prior to DEC's issuing, I'm almost done, a permit exposes the town to taking lawsuits. Whereas the town board representing its constituents has the responsibility to consider the high costs of inaction as well as the cost of passing moratorium. Therefore, be it resolved that we, the undersigned, call for a 2-year moratorium on horizontal hydraulic fracturing in the town of Owego, and find this moratorium to be the most responsible and best allocation of town resources. Be it further resolved that the residents of the town of Owego are willing and able to assist the board during the moratorium in any way the board might desire to achieve the common goal of protecting health, safety, and welfare of the town. And be it further resolved that we, the undersigned, request a board member to make a motion for a moratorium on horizontal hydraulic fracturing in the town of Owego, and we request another member to second the motion. Signed, members of Owego Rec. And thank you very much.
My name is Joanne Schrager. I live at 2474 Owego Road in Owego. Thank you for your time, Luigi and panel. I've never done this before. I'm an OFA high school graduate. I don't have a fancy speech or anything, but I am a landowner, and I believe it's my right as a landowner to do what I want with my land. I pay my taxes, and I oppose any ban on drilling. I love Owego. I've lived in Owego all my life. I hate to see it in the depressed state that it is, and I hate to see our our country are dependent on foreign oil. So again, I oppose any ban on hydraulic fracking. Thank you.
I forwarded your, I'll forward your, I got her email.
Okay. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Judy Bjorkman. I live at 681 Ivory Foster Road in Owego. And I give my greetings to all of you this evening and thank you for the opportunity to speak on our aquifer. I think everyone here would agree that our drinking water in this area is a very precious resource. Our water comes from a large aquifer called the Clinton Street Ballpark Valley System in an EPA study published in 1984-85. It is described there as a sole source aquifer stretching under most of Broome and Tioga counties. As stated in the Federal Register, quote, "There is no feasible existing alternative drinking water source or combination of sources which provide 50% or more of the drinking water to the designated area," end quote. If this aquifer were to be polluted by hydraulic or other fracturing, over 150,000 of us would have no other realistic source of water. You may wonder if natural gas and other gases from fracking can make their way upward into drinking water aquifers from the deep-lying shale layers in which they are found. The answer is yes. There are no layers of rock that would completely prevent such gas migration. The mechanism by which this happens is described by Carl Stannard, professor of physics, retired from BU, and he adds, quote, "Any hazardous substances that might be let loose will endure beyond our control for who knows how long. For instance, underground aquifers, once chemically contaminated, will be dangerous for a very, very long time, likely eons." The gas industry points out that hydraulic fracturing takes place thousands of feet below drinking water aquifers and has claimed that there are no examples of the process contaminating an aquifer. But the EPA documented a case in West Virginia in 1984, published in 1987, known as Mr. Parsons' water well, in which fracture fluid from a gas well dug 600 feet away rendered Mr. Parsons' water unusable. The lead author of the EPA study said that, quote, she and her colleagues had found dozens of cases that appeared to specifically involve drinking water contamination related to fracking. But because of legal settlements and non-disclosure agreements, access to scientific documentation of other cases of fracking fluids contaminating drinking water was not possible. There is a more recent EPA report on a, quote, probable well water contamination from fracking in Pavilion, Wyoming. The final results are not yet in, but residents near the well are having their water trucked in. From Butler County in western Pennsylvania come local accounts of the effects of fracking, which include tap water, which may be gray, black, brown, orange, red, or even purple, and sometimes foaming as it exits the tap. Dried up springs are frequently mentioned, as well as nauseating chemical smells, severe nosebleeds, vomiting, diarrhea, rashes, symptoms which only gradually went away after a time of drinking bottled water. And I have all the references for this kind of thing here. The gas drillers provided water for a time in the form known as water buffaloes, and then took it away recently as the state of Pennsylvania reached a settlement with the gas companies involved. In Montrose, Pennsylvania, a family furnished with a water buffalo from Cabot Oil and Gas still had to pay to have it heated so that it wouldn't freeze. Now even those water deliveries have ceased. The gas industry says it has improved drilling safety measures, and I believe that. But our problem in Owego is that with our sole source aquifer, fracking is a gamble with consequences too serious to risk. Fracking fluid contamination of our sole source aquifer cannot be cleaned up. I hope that our Owego Town Board will take this matter seriously and issue, at the very least, a moratorium on fracking in the town. Thank you.
Well, I have to say, I was gonna move into this really nice house, but then I couldn't because I hydraulic fracking, and it was like the prettiest house I've ever seen. And it made me really sad when we had to move out because of hydro fracking. Also, I know some people like me have asthma, and we need fresh air, and I would hate to see have hydro fracking. And I'm a Cub Scout, and it's my job to respect the flag. So I would hate hydro fracking would really make me feel sad as a Scout, and I don't want that to happen because I really feel like hydro fracking is pushing and it's really getting worse. I also saw in the newspaper this guy, he turned on his water and his water was burning. It really scared me. I would hate to see Owego.
What's your name? What's your name? Your name?
My name is Thaddeus Robertson.
Thank you very much for speaking tonight.
That was my brother's dad. My name is Laura Robertson. I have spoken once here before, and I would like to be sarcastic for a really short while.
Or we all are.
I totally want hydro fracking. I don't want my parents to have to pay for the light, the electricity. So we should just have hydro fracking so that we don't have to use it, and we can just let all the things burn up on fire. That would be very light. There is nothing good about hydro fracking. Like my brother said, he does have asthma, and asthma is problematic, especially with hydro fracking. My dad went to Pennsylvania the other day, and they do have hydro fracking there. It was like Los Angeles in the 70s. It was extremely smoky. And hydrofracking is a terrible thing. It ruins our earth, and it causes diseases. It ruins our air and our water. Hydrofracking does many terrible things. Thank you.
Thank you, Dad.
Evening. I had no intention of speaking, but I really feel it's urgent that I do so now. I'm Wanda Wang, 4331 Foster Valley Road, resident of Tioga County since 1967. I have no personal interest in fracking or non-fracking. I just want to address the children. I just want you to... Okay, I just want to say that our children should not be made afraid because of opinions that we have. They should not be living in fear for something that adults should be handling. They should not be here addressing adults with fears that are eating them up at night. That is our responsibility. We should be taking care of this as adults, and we should be I'm a grandmother, and I also would like to say that seeing signs that say fresh air and water, and seeing signs that say friends of natural gas is frustrating to me, because it insinuates that if you are friends of natural gas, you want dirty air and dirty water. And none of that is true. We all want the same thing. We want what's in the best interest of our future, our children's future, our property, and the respectful drilling or not drilling in Tioga County and in the town of Owego. I think that there are many families who have multiple family generations who own property and pay taxes in this area for many, many years. Probably lots of them are not here because they're elderly. They're not able to get here, and they're struggling to pay their taxes. If this should happen and drilling should occur, I also need to say that I have property in Pennsylvania because of very generous parents that shared with 5 of us for eternity. They have 3 wells within 1 mile of that. My mother has lived there since 1946. One of them is currently on the property that they had owned until 5 years ago. It's within visibility of their home. The drilling occurred. Her well is 700 feet deep. Bluestone, noise was not an issue. Traffic is an issue. I think we all have opinions, and I think like my doctor says, now that there's internet, everyone is an expert on everything. It's very difficult to be a doctor. It must be very difficult to be a town councilman, because you are listening to everyone's conglomeration of opinions. And I could go on the internet and find information that would concur with any opinion that I had and present it to you. But I respectfully ask that you do what your job is, take the information that is given to you as opinion, and recognize that some of these facts are still opinion. Some of these cases are still in question. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. There have been mistakes made. Is it going to be a perfect industry if it occurs? Absolutely not. Is there a guarantee that there will be no accidents? Absolutely not. There's no guarantee in anything in life. And so to say because there is a risk, what is the percentage of risk? What is the percentage of gain? What is the percentage of population that would be affected? To say that the aquifer would be polluted, maybe those people have not seen how the casings are done. I really don't know the industry. I'm not an expert in the industry. I don't pretend to be an expert in the industry, and I don't want to be an expert in the industry. I think most of us have the same goal. We want to have good property. We want to have safe property, safe water. But we also look at advances, progress, and what is in the best interest long-term as well as short-term. So I know you'll take that into consideration. But for the children who are involved, I request that each of us here on the panel and each of us speaking tonight respect the fact that our job is to protect our children, not to frighten our children. And the decisions we make, we will live with. The consequences will be ours and those of our children. And I know that we will do the right thing. Will it be perfect, whatever the idea? Will everybody be happy? No, they won't. It's not a perfect world, and we don't have the right to be happy. We have the right to freedom of choice. And I respectfully think that we should have the freedom of choice to do what is appropriate with our properties. I am not leased. I have never been leased. I have no personal gain in this whatsoever. But when I heard of the fear of the children, my heart aches. And I think we're doing something bad if we're instilling fear in our children instead of hope, that they can believe in the people who are doing the leadership and doing the research on behalf of all of us. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Roger Lay, 373 West Creek Road, Owego. I'm the vice president of ETM Solar Works, and we're a locally based business that specializes in the design and installation of solar systems. And we are proud of the fact that we've been in operation for continuously 24 years. When I moved to the Southern Tier 11 years ago, I began my career at ETM Solar as an installer, learning from the ground up and advancing myself to my current position as vice president. Let's put some things into perspective. Usable energy resources available to us from the sun on a yearly basis is 210,000 trillion kilowatt hours a year. The known natural content of natural gas in the earth is 215 trillion kilowatt hours. This supply will not regenerate. And when it's gone, it's gone. The world's energy consumption is 140 trillion kilowatt hours a year. The United States uses 4 trillion kilowatt hours a year out of that. With these numbers, we can safely state that the supply of fossil fuels is not unlimited. What does this mean for solar? If the United States were to move forward and implement the utilization of solar power, the entire 48 contiguous states could be powered from a system built on an area of 25,000 square kilometers, approximately 15,000 square miles. This is a relatively small area compared to the available land in the United States. In fact, it would be just twice the size of Nevada's nuclear test bomb site and range. You're probably thinking to yourself that this area doesn't get enough sun. Well, in fact, central New York receives 73% the amount of sunshine that San Diego, California gets every year. These statistics come from the National Renewable Energies Laboratories which has been collecting sunlight measurements and recording data for over a period of 30 years. Just what is in a solar module? Each module contains aluminum, plastics, and silicon. Aluminum, which makes up 8.1% of the Earth's crust, is used and manufactured daily in the production of planes, trains, automobiles, soda cans, etc. Plastics are everywhere in our daily lives, toothbrushes to car bumpers, toys to iPhones. Both aluminum and plastics are recycled items that we recycle every single day. The main and most important ingredient in a solar panel is silicon. Silicon, most commonly known as sand, is the second most abundant element on Earth, second to only to oxygen. It comprises 27.7% of the Earth's crust. I'll show it for you guys here. The installation of solar panels has a positive effect on our local economy. Solar installations are locally driven. The wire, conduit, electrical components, and yes, even solar panels can be purchased at local vendors. With the sale of each solar panel system that is installed, our economy grows. With the ever-growing demand for solar power, more jobs are created for the residents of the community and not being created for out-of-state workers. The technology is here, it's clean, and it's available. There is no reason why we should not take advantage of this exciting new direction for our energy needs. Rather than continue using fossil fuels and damaging our climate and environmental existence, we must pursue the utilization of our abundant energy resource, the sun. Thank you very much.
Hello.
It's always on Tuesday.
Actually, I just came from work, so that's why I'm back there in the hallway there. Thank you for allowing me to speak, Dr. Michael Tunick, 41 Azalea Drive. First, a quote I want to give to you guys. This is regarding a moratorium that was recently enacted on June 11th, 2012. Albany County Legislator Chris Higgins, after passing a 2-year moratorium in this county. I don't think we all have all the facts yet, and I think it's important to get the facts. Am I willing to sacrifice the possibility of jobs, or temporary jobs, or out-of-state jobs for our air, for our water, for our quality of life, and environment's state at this point in time? With all the facts, absolutely not. That's what somebody in your position has said. 1997, this town board set a precedent for the future of the town of Owego when you issued your comprehensive plan. In this plan, it's very obvious that there was a stress on the quality of the environment, of the protection of air and water resources, concern for traffic, and congestion and lack of industrialization. And just a couple of quotes from there, just to remind you guys. Town of Owego residents place a great value in the quality of the environment and the natural features of the landscape that give the town its special character and merit of preservation and conservation. The goals and objectives are designed to protect the quality of the environment, the special natural features of the town, the agricultural lands, and to control the adverse impacts from soil mining and excavations. Transportation goals include providing safe and efficient traffic circulation within the town, protection of air and water resources from sources of potential contamination is vital to maintain the town's quality of life. And then in section 4.2, environmental goals and objectives, the first goal, protect the quality of the environment for potential sources of contamination. And there's a couple other quotes I'll give you. With the possibility of horizontal gas drilling, there's a significant increase in truck traffic, as witnessed in Pennsylvania. There's alteration of the landscape, such as places with wells and well pads. There's potential for air contamination, water contamination, both underground wells and aquifers, as well as surface water, and impacts on human and animal health. Therefore, with this in mind, and in regards to your precedent that you set in 1997 in your comprehensive town plan of Owego, and the consideration, when you consider the possibility of allowing horizontal gas drilling, how do you resolve the absolute contraindication between your plan, as I just described, and potential for horizontal drilling in this town? That's a question.
I'll leave that for a later date. Okay?
Well, I mean.
Privilege of the board, we don't field questions, we hear public. If you'd like something,
We're not ready to answer those
When,
questions.
when would I be able to ask you that question and discuss it with you?
We're in the process of taking all this in, and we will obviously address all of these issues at some point. We're not prepared to do that right now, we're still taking the answers.
Okay, because my question is to you. We get one time to speak with you every 2 weeks, which is now. So when would we be able to have an open discussion with the town in regards to, for instance, this question regarding between a comprehensive town plan and the potential for allowing this?
I would say that that's going to be a part of the bigger picture when we address all these issues, and I'm offline, free to talk to you anytime, but right now, I'm not gonna answer individual questions, because when we come up with a response, no matter which way we go, we're gonna address everybody's comments. There's a lot of the points being made on both sides, and when we're finally coming to a decision, all those types of questions will be addressed.
And you will allow us to be able to ask you, the town board, questions?
Absolutely. Give me my word on that.
Okay. Thank you.
No, you got it, Mr. Turpin, okay.
My name is Paul Delfino. I live on 24 Laurie Drive, okay? And the way this country was made, okay, is we have the best engineering, we sent people to the moon first, okay? And I think we could do this properly for the future and for all of our kids, okay? And talking about pollution, doesn't go to other places where talk to other people and see how everything's done. Everybody's concerned, but believe me, we have the technology to do this right for everybody, and that's all I can say. Thank you.
Hold on for a minute.
Hi, my name is Erin Messina. I live at 10 Bowling Road, Appalachia, New York. I wasn't going to speak, but actually I did sign the petition when I was out at the Strawberry Fest. I am a healthcare provider, as well as my husband, who chose to stay in this area as healthcare providers about 20 years ago. And we chose this area, not because the taxes were great. We could have left the area, as many of my close friends and classmates. I was a graduate of Bangor High School. My husband went to Vestal. Have all often left this area because it's not, flourishing, and the economy's not great. One reason we stayed is because of it's a great place to raise children. Currently, I do have a concern as a healthcare provider, as well as my husband does. My husband's in radiation oncology. We have a child that has asthma severe. We do not have a pulmonologist in this area. We actually have to travel to Philadelphia, CHOP, Children's Hospital. And we also have to go, we're between a 1-month recall at both places for my child to Syracuse University upstate Med, where my husband went to school. So my concern with this is, if any of you have followed anything as far as Cornell and Boston has done a lot of research on a lot of this. With the hydrofracking, obviously I'm anti. I worry about the quality of the air. That's why I live in this area. I chose not to live in a big city, just due to the big city environment with his asthma already. It emits a lot of formaldehyde, which not a lot of you are familiar with. Formaldehyde increases the rate of childhood asthma, and in Texas, that is a proven fact that since they've had hydrofracking, it has increased. I did work for the Tioga County Health Department for 6 years, and I do have a concern with the rates. Asthma is actually, I think it's right, the second childhood disease. So I do have a concern with that, and I just don't think it's researched enough. A lot of healthcare providers. I know tons of physicians between I'm at Lourdes, my husband's at UHS, and a lot of this bounces back and forth, and we just don't think the research is out there yet. We don't think that they're, disclosing half the chemicals. I don't want to be another love canal, if anybody's familiar with that. I do have a grave concern for that. My child is on multiple inhalers already. He has no allergies. He has an overreactive airway, and the formaldehydes, we can't even use formaldehyde in his lotions on his skin because it causes bronchial inflammation. So if any of you do any of your research, and you don't have to go online and go crazy looking stuff up, these are proven things. You can go right on Cornell's website
There's many professors doing research on stuff. I just don't think we're there yet, and I feel for the landowners. I know this area is in a depressed state in certain areas, but I think our health overall needs to be seriously taken into consideration. And I just hope we have the healthcare providers here enough for you people to take care of the problem if it's down the road. Because I gotta be honest with you, my husband and I stayed here for a reason. We could have left, as well as a lot of the younger people that are up and leaving. And we chose to stay and contribute and try to give to this area, and this terrifies us. I'm ready to put my house on the market now, because I have to worry about, healthcare issues with my son. So, thank you for your time.
Mr. Kaczalewski and board members Jeff Fryer, 2299 Lyle Road, Owego. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak. First, I am a landowner here, and I am pro-drilling and pro-safe drilling. And when it comes to all these various fluids, you may be aware that we are doing in-depth study and looking at propane gel, which is not the same mystery chemicals. It's propane gas, which is a gas. And I want to just, now that I've stated that, I want to just blast through a couple of topics. We moved here about 13 years ago. I love the fact that we have clean water. We moved back from Milwaukee into here. The water's spectacular. I am a conservationist. I love my land. I don't like invasive species on my property. I love our animals. We've counted 31 different types of birds on our property. I truly love our land. I also do not like coal-fired plants that emit toxins into the air, being that we live on the east side of the United States. We're getting all of this coal-fired dust, sulfuric acid, everything in the air. Nothing in life is safe. My true sympathies for people who do have respiratory issues. I'm very, I've been blessed with good health. The town of Owego, perhaps, when we talk about risk, I really think that we should do a town ban on driving. Everybody stop driving. 60, on average, 60 people got killed in cars today. But I'll bet everybody drove here. It's all about the risk. Nothing in life is risk-free. I don't want my water polluted. I don't think it's going to get polluted. Insofar as support in the area, why don't we, I would like to see the town fix the roads here. Please, fix the roads. Oh wait, there's no money to fix them. Okay, well, there's very little industry here, and I appreciate that. By the way, I have worked on a drilling rig, Hickory, Oklahoma. I have actually worked on a drilling rig. Nobody wants to be dumping fluids out in the yard. I don't want people dumping fluids in my yard. I wouldn't mind in my field if they put up a big drilling rig and worked 2 months, 24 hours a day, trucks coming and going, blah, 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 and then it's all seeded back, and what you see is a pipe sticking out of the ground. I lived in Oklahoma, that's where I worked on the rig. Sometimes you have a pumping unit in your yard, a Bethlehem steel pumping unit going up and down. Pretty quiet. When we talk about compressor stations, these are electric compressor stations. They're not big diesel fired, blah, running all night. These are electric, probably about the volume that I'm speaking now. They're not putting off gases 24 hours a day, pumping gas into the air. There's not going to be big vapor clouds all over town. A lot of this is just constant. Well, here's another question I have, not a question, a concern. Water quality. All of our cesspools are on top of the aquifer. I don't know how many tons of salt the town dumps in the winter all over the roads. 100,000 tons? 20,000 tons? Let's ban salt, because where does it go? Right into the aquifer, right into the creeks, right into the environment. I'm trying to make the point that The technology is here. We are looking at propane fracturing. If it had a different name other than fracturing, I think people would maybe take a better look at it. Thank you.
Bob Jensen, Glen Road, Appalachian. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. I'm going to try to make my comments short. Number one, the person who commented about solar, great idea. I would love to have it on my house if I wasn't on the west side of a mountain that blocks the sun half the day. But the last time I took an airplane flight, I don't think that flew on solar. And I don't think our trucks that deliver our food every day will last on solar. We need gas, and we need petroleum fluids, and natural gas is the way to go. We are paying already, through our taxes, the experts at DEC to make the right decision. If somebody in this room doesn't have confidence in that, I would suggest they put a moratorium on paying their tax bill. That's what we pay them for, is to make the right decision for us as members in the scientific community of DEC. A moratorium is not necessary because it's already imposed by the state. And it'll probably be imposed by the market because if anybody's up to date on the literature, the Marcellus shale in our area is called dry gas. Everybody's migrating to western Pennsylvania, Ohio, because that's where, quote, wet gas is, which has propane and butane liquids. Much more profitable. I would be surprised if the embargo was lifted tomorrow if any of us got a lease offer. I really would. So you don't need to do this. The issues raised by the petitioners, truck traffic. I did a calculation. Chobani Yogurt in New Berlin was on the news 2 days ago. They said they processed 3 million pounds of milk a day to make yogurt. I calculated out based on the average truck size of 7,000 gallons, that's 51 trucks a day, plus 17 trucks going out the door with the processed yogurt. Everybody's concerned about truck traffic. Have you heard anybody from Shenango County complain about truck traffic up there? No, not me. Water quality. The EPA has tested the wells in Dimock, Pennsylvania 3 times. No problem. The guinea pig issue. Okay, we bring in wells in the southern tier. We're guinea pigs. Sorry, 1.2 million wells have fracked since 1947 in every other state but this state. I think we're beyond the stage of guinea pigs. Coal versus gas. The companies, the utilities that are running coal plants are converting to gas faster than they can handle it. Why? Because gas is cheaper and cleaner, and they cannot comply with the EPA rules for gas or coal gas emissions in the current environment. Why would we deny ourselves the opportunity to build a gas infrastructure here and support cleaner air that prevents acid rain in the Adirondacks, among other places? I, as a personal homeowner, 3 years ago, converted from oil to gas. I documented $2,000 a year savings in my own personal energy bill. If we had more access to gas here, how many other people who are running oil right now could convert to gas, save that kind of money, and that money would be staying here in the United States and not going to, guess where? Somewhere in the Middle East. Water usage. Everybody complains about water usage. In 2005, the article said that wells would use 8 million plus gallons per well. I got an article from Texas from March 28th. They have, in Texas, hydrofracking down to 3.0 to 4.5 million gallons per well. Still a lot, but they've cut it almost in half. In Pennsylvania, they're doing the same thing. We can do the same thing here. You don't need to convert all our water. And by the way, the same article said in Texas, the gas drilling companies are using about 1.5% of the total water demand in a state that's inflicted with a drought. 1.5% of their total water demand. Guess who uses more? Cooling towers for nuclear and coal plants. and agriculture. I can't say anymore. I'm done.
My name is Wes Ernstberger. I'm from 19 Lake Street in Owego. This spring, a woman in Ohio found some papers in her driveway. They were inadvertently dropped by a landman who had just tried to get her to sign a gas or oil lease. She decided to send them to John Trallo, who's a resident of Sullivan County, New York, who she knew was an active in the anti-fracking movement. I learned about these papers from Ellen Harrison, founder of the organization Fleece, at one of her talks recently, and she sent me a copy. And I found out later these copies are also available on the web. The papers turn out to be a how-to manual that was provided to the landman by an oil and gas company. I'd like to read to you the whole thing, but in the interest of time, I will read you some excerpts and give you a copy of the full document. Thank you. First, if anyone knows about slick water fracturing, avoid the topic. Do not discuss the chemicals and other material used during slick water fracturing. The best strategy is to say that the chemical mixtures used are proprietary and are highly diluted with water when injected. Reassure landowners that no well contamination has ever been documented. And this last sentence is underscored. Do not mention water contamination in Pennsylvania. Property values. Multiple studies have shown that property values decrease for land with oil and gas leases on the property. Avoid this topic. Some major branches have stopped issuing mortgages on properties with leases for mineral oil and gas rights. This is a no-win discussion point. If backed into this issue, talk about the potential revenues and the overall needs of the nation. Lease term. This is another area of concern that you can alleviate with the right wording. The lease is for 5 years. Sometimes landowners will read the lease before signing and realize that the lease renews automatically if any oil or gas are produced from the well. Do not stress this point. Just state that the lease is for 5 years. They do not need to know or discover through discussions with us that the lease can extend indefinitely with no further permission from the landowner. Men are more likely to sign than women. Men don't like to believe that you know more than they do, so they are also less likely to ask questions. Men are also more conservative and more likely to want oil and energy independence. Women will have more concern for the environment and will challenge you more often. Knowing who to approach can seal the safe. The rest of the document is just as disturbing. Basically, the gas industry is instructing its salesmen to use half-truths, lies, and manipulation to get leases signed. But that is just the beginning. Let me go through a laundry list of some common industry practices. They buy extraordinary political influence with large campaign contributions and lobbying. They co-opt regulatory agencies so they create weak regulations and do lax enforcement. They use their political clout to get favorable legislation passed, such as the exemption from the Clean Water Act. They discourage lawsuits against them by stringing out valid lawsuits as long as possible in order to deplete the plaintiff's more limited resources. They deny responsibility for any health problems. When they contaminate someone's water, they require the family to sign a non-disclosure agreement before agreeing to bring in drinkable water. They require their rig workers to be treated by company doctors so that injuries are not reported. They fund front groups that discredit those who try to expose their practices. They spend millions of dollars on advertising and PR designed to create the illusion that the industry is safe and caring.
Let's get it. I know. Can you mind? This could be a lot of people.
Almost.
Okay, we can get that.
Lies, deception, secrecy, manipulation, intimidation, corruption, and arrogance. If that describes someone you know, I'm sure that you wouldn't want to invite that person into your home. An article I read a while ago